If you guys don't know Coyote 4PF, you're looking like a Cuddy pick, but I feel like anyone that like really is locked in on the trading stuff knows about Coyote 4PF. If you don't know, I think you should take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you really locked in on the trading stuff? But welcome, one of my favorites. I know you're from the PN chat, of course. We've had confluence on some trades, on some wins, on some losses, but I don't know.
Rest in peace, Gork.
Yeah,
Man. Rest in
fuck
peace, Gork.
Gork. You want to give an intro? Like, is there anything you want to say about yourself?
Yeah. I guess I can give a little sort of an intro. My name's Coyote. Uh, I started fucking around with this shit. Maybe like 2019, 2020. I got a little bit into the NFT stuff. I was so bad at all of that. So completely missed the boat there. And then I guess kind of in the bear, I was screwing around in a really fringe perps paid Discord, which the owner actually ended up exit scamming. And there's this guy Hopium. If you're a real trencher, you've probably seen him around too. And he was screaming at me to buy this Pepe thing at 5 mil. I know Magus was just talking about Pepe actually. And I was like, dude, I don't know what any of this stuff is. And then I watched him, hit a 200x on it or whatever it was at the top, I guess 8 bill. And that was kind of when I was like, man, maybe I should start paying attention to this on-chain stuff. And so then, yeah, I kind of started fucking around with ETH shitters. And then I think that I think somebody also earlier on the stream mentioned about how like being early gives you like enough leeway or freedom to kind of like realize gains or be right or like be wrong, I think is what he was saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's super true. And that the way I built my port was like I was just on Solana when nobody else was, and that like, back in like the Myro days and pre that. And so that was kind of my start and just been sort of building up ever since.
Dude, the legend of Coyote like grows with coming days. I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, why? What do you think why are you a good trader? What makes you a good trader?
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that to start, I would say that like kind of my recent notoriety has probably come from I do like a lot of like egregious and reckless stuff on chain. I like to say that I'm willing to put my dick on the line when like a lot of people aren't, if you will. So I think that like a lot of times like people will see me, slam big buys, like that kind of thing. I think that I've also am somebody who just like is kind of evolved. I come from like a really big sleuthing background, and that I was the kind of guy who was like trying to find like the dead like 25, 30K crime pair that was going to go to 5, 6, 700K and flip it for the 10x whatever and get out. And I think that my biggest strength is I've kind of graduated a lot to like sort of the more like size conviction type stuff. You don't really see me flipping a good bit anymore. I'm definitely more somebody who's just looking to get my money in good. And find places to realize multiples that are pretty liquid, which is, as you've seen at times, become increasingly more difficult on chain these days, especially compared to earlier in the year. But yeah, I think that a lot of people would just say that I'm a jack of all trades. I'm a win big, lose big guy. You're either going to see me make a whole bunch of money or lose a whole bunch. Not really much in between.
This might be putting you on the spot, but when you say, you're swinging your dick around and making like egregious, crazy moves on some of these charts and some of these coins, like, do you have an example that comes to mind of a trade recently where you did something just crazy that maybe worked or maybe didn't?
Yeah, I would say that probably my last really good trade. It's funny. I went on a huge tear from like, I guess it was like March to like beginning like middle of June. I was just crushing, and kind of the last,
Which was a hard time to crush it, by the way.
Yeah, but like I think that that's something that's what's really interesting about different styles and different traders, right? Is like I'm always been somebody who tends to succeed harder than others and overperform when markets are slower. And I'm generally more of like an underperformer or like kind of like a break-even guy when stuff is like there's a ton of volume, right? And so I think that that's why I found that period a little bit more intuitive, was just because like there weren't so many coins like 1, 2, 3, 4 mil that were zeroing out. It was kind of like there was like one runner every like 3 or 4 days, and it was more just about assessing like locking into that one runner and kind of estimating ceilings and comps for kind of what that could go to. And so the trade that I was going to say was Gorbagana. I think I had 800 SOL in that, like under 6 mil, which I think like pretty much objectively everyone would say that that's like really reckless to have that type of size in a 6 mil shitter.
What percent?
And that was just because like it was like super screaming to me that it was mispriced. Like I like these guys were building the chain like out in the open, right? And just everyone was treating it like it was just like a Tolly tweet catalyst coin, and I just thought that that was super mispriced. And so like during that trade, like I was getting DMs from people who were like what are you doing, bro? Like are you just like there's no way you're gonna be able to like realize anything on this. And it ended up being a really good trade. I didn't like make the maximum, if you will, but I mean it was super liquid at 40 mil for like days, pretty much like 12 hours after I bought.
So how much did you make on 800?
I would say that's an example, right? But like there's two sides of that coin, right? And that like there are times when I hit huge because of like being willing to do stuff like that. And like there are other traders who I kind of emulate. I think like Profit and Pow are two examples of people who like kind of do the same thing, right? And that look at Pow with like Launch Coin, for example. Like I think he top lost like 200K and like was literally like the infinite Pico Shimiko top for months and months and months. And then had the conviction to never sell and ends up realizing, like 1.5 mil on the trade. Like I think that I've learned a lot from those types of people, but the other side of the coin is just that I get blown out all the time too. Like, I mean, for example, I got clowned on the TL. I fat fingered like 250 SOL into a 80K shitter like 3 weeks ago. And like everyone just like dumped on me and like I just got memed on. And so like that's kind of the con to my style. So I think that it doesn't work for everybody, and like that's like what the beauty of this game is. I think that on chain is a lot closer to a video game than it is like a traditional asset market, and I think that that's why so many people are drawn to it, is because there's just so many different ways to play, and the way I play like probably would not work for 95% of people, but also the way you play or the way Frank plays, the way anybody plays probably wouldn't work for me, so.
Damn, bro, 800 SOL at 6 mil is like insane.
Yeah, like it's retarded, to be honest. Like it's not something I would ever recommend anybody doing.
Was that one of your
Just
best
an
trades
example
ever?
of, like, by P&L, no. I would say like in terms of like multiples on size, like in short periods of time, then yeah, I think that it's one of my favorite trades of all time because it really felt like I like saw the board there. I actually had a tweet like when I took that trade on that said like I see the board. And that was mainly about the fact that like I just like it just blew my mind that like that was trading so low, like given kind of what the market has shown appetite for new chains. I mean, like it was sort of like this huge left curve of like these people are building a new L1 in the open. And like sure, like it didn't end up going that well. Like there was the whole like dev FUD. I think like one of the guys like launched a token or something, and it kind of killed it. But like it was a layup to eight figs in my example, and it was cool to like have something that I was like screaming about actually play out in a way that was probably to like the maximum upside of what I thought.
That's fucking sick. Quick interruption. Magus with the 10 gifted, my goat, and then Bonkbot firing subs in here. 20 gifted. Shout out to Bonkbot. They quote tweeted us as well. I think you work with Bonkbot.
Yeah. So it's actually funny. Bonkbot, love the guys over there.
Run me a check, Bonkbot. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah. So Bonkbot's like really funny. So King, who is one of their founders, and James, they actually were in an OG chat I had called G Capital, and like we like kind of just started trading shitters together and ended up becoming super good friends. And I don't have like any formal employment with Bonkbot, but I've spent a lot of time with those guys. Me and King have traveled a good bit, and I love their product. I think that it's super good, and it's been really cool kind of being able to have an inside look at how they build things while also giving some input for features and that kind of stuff. So if you haven't used telemetry, it's a really good terminal product. I love the UI.
And use code Coyote for PF. No, sorry, no. Okay, talk to me about the sleuthing approach, because it wasn't that long ago where the market, I guess this is probably March, maybe April. I was done. I was back online trenching, and I was like, really frank, myself, a couple other people were like, all right, we're just going to get lit with on-chain sleuthing. And somehow, how or another, I got on a call with you, and we're talking about a coin. It was Jockey, I think.
Yeah.
And Coyote knew literally every single wallet that had ever traded more than $100 in the coin. He probably had a tab one for every single wallet. And it was like, I don't think it's like the traditional way that people do the sleuthing stuff, but you had like very vertical specialized knowledge on the topic. I had absolutely no clue. And it was pretty fascinating to hear you just break down what you do, why you do it. Like, is there actual value in alpha and being good at on-chain sleuthing to trade?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like is really the meta and like is where everything is going. And I think that you're kind of getting a really good glimpse right now as to why I think it's important. So, um, the most beautiful thing about the blockchain is that it's a public ledger, right? And like you can see what everybody is doing. There's a way to like you can see where the money went in and where the money went out, right? And I think like the beauty of shitcoins, right, is I think that like I hate the poker analogy, right? But like in terms of like pinnacle games, in terms of game theory, like I think it's like poker and on chain, right? Because all on chain is like a game of like different groups of people posturing and positioning um, to like create these like grand musical chairs games, kind of, right? And some of them run way longer than others. And you can make insights and inferences based on chain data that will tell you how long those musical chair games are going to run for. Am I making sense, Thread?
You're making perfect sense.
Okay, yeah. So my point is that like lots of coins right now, there's been a lot of discussion about there are no more organic runners. I don't know if you want to talk about bonk and pump, we can do all that later
Let's
if
do
you
it.
want, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tap too much into it for this point.
Okay.
But the thing is, right, is like bundles, supply control, organic, that's all a meme, right? And that every single coin on earth that goes up has some form of supply control, whether formal or informal. Okay. So let me give you an example. SPX 6900. That had supply control when it went ballistic, but the supply control was not some cable. I mean, I'm sure like Murad's guys and lots of people like kind of like front ran the whole like news circus that went on with it, right? But the reason why it was a good coin to go to billions like it did was because it had hundreds and hundreds of supply rotations to where supply was no longer in the hands of anybody who had any interest in selling, right?
Uh,
That's like what an organic coin is that supply is rotated so many times to people that actually believe in the intrinsic value of the token, which we all know technically there is none, and that's why it goes up, right? Formal supply control is stuff that you see with like a lot of these bonk tokens, right? That like useless, for example. I think that um, there's nobody on earth that would say that doesn't have formal supply control, right? And we can talk about why that is and all those types of things, right? But like that's an example of a token of people who a cabal or a syndicate, if you will, decided to corner most of the supply and just refuse to sell it, which makes it easier for the coin to go up, right? And so basically what you're trying to do with sleuthing is like you're trying to identify like where's the supply, what is the person who has the supplies objective, and when are they going to dump on my head?
yeah.
And then from there you can determine what is my risk return profile from buying this token at this price. And that's basically all it is, right?
How do you sneak into the bundle? Like, how do you identify when there is formal supply control on a token and you can get in before the rip?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of it is pattern recognition, and that I think that a lot of it is just from looking at SoulScan for thousands and thousands of tokens a week. You start to realize things. You can identify uh, what certain syndicates use in terms of like how they orchestrate a coin and that kind of thing, where they're funding wallets from exchanges. Are they doing like what's called washing the bundle and like selling the wallets that they bundle the token with and then buying on sides, that kind of thing. So I think that's what's hard about it is it's not something that like there's not a tried and true method for determining how can I seek in the bundle and get in the rip. A lot of it is just inferences, right? And I think I had a tweet the other day that it's like it's not like I just said, it's not tried and true in that I probably buy 10 tokens and lose money on 7 of them, but the 3 that I don't lose money on pay for the 7 I lost all my money on,
Yeah.
and then some, right? And so there's not a hard and fast way. I would say that BBB tools, I'll go ahead and show that. That's IT4I's product. I think that as of now, that's like the best like full stack suite for what I would consider is in the sleuthing range. So stuff like fresh wallets, dormant wallets, they recently add like big liquidity in and outflows, which is something that I think is like kind of becoming a meta, and that so many people are no longer market buying coins. They're using Meteora pools to either accumulate or exit coins, which is a lot harder to see in the books and makes the sleuthing stuff more difficult. So, yeah, I feel like I'm really rambling right now. Am I still on topic? Or...
No, finish. Did you have something else to add? It was perfect.
No. I think that that's the extent of it. I think that the point is more just that it's important in my mind that if you want to really like make it out, quote unquote, on chain, you have to kind of become a bit of a nihilist in terms of how authentic and organic coins are. And I think that you just have to acknowledge that it's a game mechanic and you have to trade around it. Versus being just completely frustrated about the fact that it's become more difficult to sort of identify what's going to go up.
Okay,
Because it
cool.
absolutely has.
Here's a question for you, and also BBFP with the gifted thank you. Do you think, like, okay, 2024 was nuts. Everybody was trading on chain. You had to be trading on chain. That's just like what you
Yeah.
did. 2025 post Trump and Libra and all these things, it's a little bit of a different world. Do you think there is still enough opportunity on chain where it can be your full-time focus and you can make it out? Like you can really hit the 100x, you can make generational wealth on chain.
Yeah. So I think that like what's really hard about like cycles, if you will, and people don't really talk about is the later and later it is in the cycle, the games get bigger, if you will. And the reason that is, right, is because in edge markets, money sort of coagulates in like the top 5% more and more and more as risk markets continue. So I think right now, like if you were starting with like $1,000, it would be very difficult to run it up to like millions of dollars while there's still tons of risk appetite. Do I think that there's opportunity for people who have made lots of money already? Absolutely. And do I think 2 years ago you could have run $1,000 into millions and millions of dollars? Absolutely. I can't count on two hands the amount of people I know who did it. You know, like there's hundreds of success stories in that ilk as of now. So, but the thing is right, is like eventually stuff's gonna go down. Like it's gonna happen. It's inevitable. That's markets, right? And if I were somebody who was like really trying to lock in and figure out like how can I make it out? How can I do this full time? I would just be paying super close attention at the moment. And then when things start to slow down, that's when I would be really, really, really locked in because these markets are going to come back. Like they're speculative markets are the most resilient markets on earth, right? And so even if like Bitcoin nuked 30% tomorrow, if you had to ask me like, did I think on chain is going to be here in like 2.5, 3 years? I would tell you absolutely. And I think that's kind of like where the opportunity lies for the people who are really trying to go zero to hero.
That's a sick take. Also, BBFP 20 gifted's crazy. Said, tell Coyote that Suppress loves him.
Oh my God. It's actually funny. You asked the other two guys, like who was their like legendary trader they wanted to shout out, and like, I was legit gonna shout out Suppress.
Stop
So
it. No, don't do
yeah,
that.
I,
No.
Suppress is like, I mean, bro, people hate on him because he's good, and he often has lots of tokens, which I think rubs some people the wrong way. But truly, in terms of like consistent performance, he's one of the best.
L Glaze, dude, just because he's in the chat is wild.
I don't mind.
He's in
I
the
love glazing people. You know this.
he's in the chat as BBFP, so shout out to him. Okay, so talk to me about how, bro. Dude, okay, give me the shill on the PFP. Let's go.
Oh, Takabu?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, I can totally give the Takabu chill. So I'm like on the scale of traders, right? I definitely lean like more like towards like the mercenary side of the curve. And
Okay.
like, I don't get married to bags. I'm very emotionless when it comes to this stuff. I'm not traditionally a holder unless it's for a fucking Ben Pasternak token. I can't believe I did that. But yeah, that's twice, by the way. You have nuked my net worth on a stream.
Dude,
So,
I'm doing everything I can to stop the narrative because 2024 threadguy stream was bullish. 2025 it's like overwhelmingly bearish. I'm trying to stop it. I don't know how to stop it.
bro, but it's not your fault. Like they're just coming on and doing a piss poor job. Like it's not your bad.
Oh, thank you, thank
But
you.
okay, sorry. Where were we? Oh, Takabu.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and so um, another thing I've talked about is that I think that like everybody's like bottom line foundation objective, like when buying tokens on chain, is like, am I buying something that somebody can dream about, and could see implications of like farther beyond like any of my wildest imaginations? And that's because you need a marginal buyer at prices 5 times higher than you're buying, 10 times higher than you're buying, 25 times higher than you're buying, right? And it's pretty rare these days that I find a token that I'm comfortable holding over a long time frame because I think that that exists. And Takabu is the first genuine cult I think that I've ever found on Solana. In that, and I hate that term, right? Because it got like so popularized by like Murad and like kind of all these other tokens that were sort of like faux culty, if you will. But it was just like one of those communities of people who sort of just started rating me like over and over again on Twitter. And so I looked into it and heard the lore. Like it started out as a rug token, and these two guys, the main dev, Crackbra, just became obsessed with this character and sort of built out like an entire storyline for him. There's a children's book on Amazon. It's $250.
Really?
I bought it. If you buy it,
It's
yeah, you can get into
$250.
it. It's a hardback, color, super worth it. Yeah, I mean, this is crypto. Come on,
You got like a
know,
ref code or something? It's 1.5 soul.
I know. You know what, Thread? If you buy Takabu, I'll send you a copy.
Okay, fine.
But anyways, and so I think that the bottom line of like why I think that Takabu checks a lot of the boxes is because it appeals to a group of people outside of our eco, if you will, and that the people I saw talking about Takabu when I bought it was like this like Phenom poker pro, not Phenom as in like he's phenomenal. I'm saying like he's sponsored by Phenom, which is like a huge poker brand. When he was like cashing like a big WSOP event, there's been several online casino operators who have hit me up and been like, yo, like I love this coin, like what is the deal, like how do I buy it, that kind of thing. There's a lot of discussions about it, like on gambling Twitter. I think that besides gambling being like a core ethos of CT and like the people who trade, I think that the next kind of like appetite for like who are like the new on-chain retail participants are probably people who frequent casinos and other edge games, right? And so I think the team behind it is insane. They work so hard. They do all the content, all the right Twitter stuff, that kind of thing. But I really believe that it's the type of community that could grow way outside sort of the confines of our Twitter and Telegram walls. So that's why I own it. I think that the cool thing about it too is like it was at zero for so long, and so we talked about that like supply control rotation, and that I think it's reasonably safe, and that like people aren't going to get rugged overnight. Could it go down 80-90%? Absolutely, but it's pretty hard to find tokens in today's market that are kind of just grindy.
You know what thanks for the show, first of all. You know what? The PFP is ridiculous. I like it. You know what I think we got away from in meme coins, and you've traded way more coins than me, so you might have a better take on this. But I feel like in pre-Pump.fun, like the whole bit with the meme coins was that they weren't funny memes, but they were they were altcoins. There was like teams, like like many, like 10 people teams, like running these coins, coordinating whales, supply controlling, getting listed on exchanges, activating partnerships, like raiding, like there was like core teams running these coins. And then in the Pump.fun era, you don't really get teams running the coins anymore. Like, do you think that's something that we got away from, that the ones that are running now, like look at Pengu, which I know is a unique one, but look at SPX, look at Mog, like look at these coins. Do you think that's something that has to return for memes to really break out again?
I think that like teams and kind of like the shadow people behind the scenes who are quote unquote working a coin will always be sort of a necessity, because there has to be some form of organization to this for people to feel safe enough to buy it, right? I think that the reason we got away from it in the first place is we had lots of like nefarious teams extract lots of money from the eco, not in the same way in which like people have done with like celebrities or politicians and that kind of thing, but and then I think we saw a bunch of like CTO tokens that went super successful. And it used to be in the past that if a token's OG team abandoned it, the token was like doomed forever, right? And that it can only go up if the OG team still works on it, and that just like really isn't the case anymore.
Yeah.
And which, but the thing is like they still all have teams. It's all the same thing, right? It just is at times there are multiple teams that work on a token during its life cycle, or there's a team that says the token got rugged, but in reality they deployed it and rugged it intentionally so that they could use the narrative of it being CTO'd. And this is what I'm saying, in that it's all posturing, it's all
Got it.
positioning. The
Got
sooner
it.
that you like just like, accept that, like it's a little easier. So yes, I think that like the mechanic in which we used for assessing teams has changed, but like I think that that's still a core principle and value, and something that like tokens will probably never get away from.
Do you think we'll ever see a new meme coin either on Pump or Bonk go from 0 to a bill this cycle? Like, will we see a new $1 billion meme coin this cycle?
I think that it's possible. I think it would have to be something that was like really special and narrative driven outside of like our ego. Like I don't think that like no FUD whatsoever, but like I don't think Ani, like the big titty anime girl, is going to a billion. But like that's mainly because the only people who really care about Ani are in our eco, right? I think that when you look at stuff like the Trump token or Goat or Farcoin or any of like any of that kind of stuff, like there was marginal buyers who had never purchased tokens before, like for those tokens, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and like we don't like Goat, like we literally dumped on VCs, like that's exactly kind of what happened there. And so I think it's gonna take something really special for it to happen.
One of the things I feel like and I've honestly again objectively I trade less right now than I have in past, especially with stream and whatnot, but I feel like I've thought more about my process, and one of the things I've been more cognizant of is that thinking like when I'm buying this coin at X market cap, like who's the marginal buyer? And if the final buyer in the line is Pow or Gake, you're capped, you know? It's like
100%.
someone has to buy from Pow in order for us to get to 100 mil plus. And if no one's willing to buy from Pow, then we're just like dead at 15.
100%. And that's why like I think an under discussed metric that I think a lot of the best traders use is what I call comps, in that what are tokens that are similar to this token that I'm thinking about trading right now, and what has the market shown historically, appetite wise, for that type of token. And I think that that has been really helpful in my trading for establishing ceilings. And I think that one reason why a lot of people really struggle is they buy things with like no exit strategy or no idea of like kind of like where they think this is going. And it's really difficult to like determine your RR, or like if your entry is even good, if you don't really kind of have an idea of like where you might feel the marginal buyer is capped. But yes, like this whole like copy trade meta thing, like where like we just you like I see so much of people who are just like buying thinking like this seems like something Gake would like, or like this seems like something Power like, or like like that kind of like nothing's ever going to get off the ground that way, and that's just a fast way for people to just bleed their boards.
I mean, I'm not here to fund anyone's bags because I left a lot of money on the table, and I'm genuinely think it's a good token. But your comps thing is an interesting point, and I mean we have a pretty good comp for Ani, which is Gork, right? I mean I don't know how could you have a better
Yeah,
how could you have
yeah.
a better comp than that?
100%. I think that the main like bullish argument for Ani over Gork, right, is that Gork was really reliant on it being integrated further into XAI beyond like it just being a tweet.
Fair.
And I think that it seems like Ani is like a little bit more of like a serious product for XAI compared to like Gork being sort of like this side meme. And so I think that that's kind of like where the speculation has increased a little bit. But yes, I do think that that is absolutely the most similar comp.
Okay. What'd you think of the? Did you watch? If you could say no, by the way, did you watch the Elon interview?
Buddy, I got liquidated in the Elon interview.
Did you really?
But yes, I did.
For
I
a
did watch
lot?
it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like not like a lot, as in like I'm roping, but like not a fun downside.
Did you like
That's for sure.
you longed thinking it was gonna go up during the interview? Was sort of the trade?
No, so it's actually funny. I was long from like basically when Perps came out. So I was long like I want to say like 5.4 maybe. Was up like a whole bunch at 6.7, and then um kind of just really impressed me. I really thought that like the 4 bill floor was gonna hold a lot harder than it did. And so I was pretty comfortable being on Lev because my liquidation was just so far below 4 that I really didn't think that it was possible. I think that are you asking me like what I think like the problem was with the Elon interview and like why I lost
Um,
a billion?
yeah, sure. I didn't really have an angle yet. I was just kind of curious first. Yeah, go with that. Go
So
with that.
I did watch it. I think that first off, I think that like attention spans are like ever shrinking. We talk about that all the
Yep.
time, right? And so I think that people want action and they want action now.
They
I
want.
think Launchcoin is a really great example of like how that like completely failed. Um, and I think that uh, what Elon is doing to the market looks like a complacent and careful approach in that we have these big plans. We don't really have concrete roadmaps for how we plan to achieve these goals. We also don't have any timelines for when we might know when we're going to achieve these goals. And so I think that it brings a lot of uncertainty. And I think that also like people paraded this like 2 billion in cash thing around and as like kind of being the bull case. I think that the thing that's becoming clear now is we don't know how much that 2 billion in cash is going to be allocated towards the token, and we also don't know how much that 2 billion in cash is going to be used towards future build out and future acquisitions. And so it just creates a lot of uncertainty. And I think that also, it's just a really bad look that Bonk came in and took so much market share so quickly. I think that a lot of people talked about how like Pump.fun had just sort of this iron moat, and it like was really exposed in that sense that it did not. So yeah, so I think that just like in a bull market, man, people just there's better stuff to buy than kind of sitting and gambling on can this guy already build a bigger behemoth than he did the first time.
I think that's the hardest part is that the timeline thing is just rough for. I mean, here's the thing. We're it's almost two different conversations. Is like, should you be in a leverage trade right now on Pump Fund, and then like will Pump Fund make a new all time high in like a year, right? It's like kind of like a completely different conversation. But if we're playing the like, should you be in a trade right now? The long tail, unclear, no hard deadlines, nothing actionable. I mean, it makes a trader, especially a meme trader, on-chain trader, like go insane, right? It's like you want to do something right now with the information you have right now, and no information for the inevitable future is yeah, it's. I mean, it's the ultimate reason for people to just like lose their minds. I think that's
Yeah.
what we're really seeing right now is people are like, they want money right now, and it's not happening, and that's why there's so much frustration around it.
Yeah, and for the record, like I think on my part, it was a really bad trade. In that, I think it was really crowded, and I think a lot of us plugged our ears and pretended like it
Yeah,
wasn't.
what was your thesis? Like, why'd you make the trade? Was it the cash?
Um, for me, I was actually gonna sit on the sidelines until I actually didn't get filled on the pre-sale. And so kind of my idea was that there was like a lot of sideline capital that was not in said sale, and so I thought that that would kind of give it the first boost. And then I
Got it.
also thought that the first day of buybacks were really bullish. I mean, like I mean, it was kind of odd how they like sort of just slammed on that first day, and then it just completely dried up and trickled down. Right, and I think that a lot of us operated under the precedence that that was going to continue. And was not the case. So probably the TP point was after seeing that that wasn't going to be a consistent feature, was probably a good time to cut. But you live and you learn. And I also wish I had just bought spot because this is why like I never touch Lev. Like this is like one of the few times I have touched Lev, and it's because I know I have no edge there, and I know it's because it's a very different game in that sometimes you can't just hold. Sometimes you just get zeroed. And if I just bought spot, I would have just sat comfy because I have no doubt in my mind that Pump Fund probably trades above 5 billion at some point. I think
I
that
think you're right.
somebody made the comparison in PN, I think actually of it like being the Pingu fractal. And I think that it could totally be like that. I think that it probably just shakes people out for weeks on end to the point where it sort of rips when no one's expecting it.
I just
But
don't have.
we'll
I just
see.
don't have like a thesis. I don't. I was really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that like building the Twitch killer is like kind of like That's like the absolute bull case, right? And I think that Alon and Pump.fun have previously been a really big fish in a small pond, and now are about to be like an average to smaller fish in an even bigger pond.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that that's a lot harder feat than what he already did.
yeah. Okay.
But I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Um. Hey, BBFP 100 gifted. Damn, who? This motherfucker is crazy. Jesus. Thanks for the 100 gifted. All because you glazed it. BBFP, my
Oh my,
goat. Much love, dude. 100 is crazy. BBFP, shout out to you. All right, here's what I want to ask you. This is a complete 180. What is okay? What do you think is the most legendary on-chain trade ever? Which could be P&L, it could be like X's, it could be however you want to answer it, but in something, it could also be your trade. But what do you think is
it's
the most?
definitely not going to be my trade.
Okay.
Um, Man, there's so many. There's so many. I think that the ones I like the most are the ones that are kind of like making at the time what seems like an ill-advised decision to the general public that ends up being like a huge winner. So, I think the biggest one that comes to mind that nobody ever talks about is like the $3.1 million with fat, like people thought was a fat finger, like by a fund, around 300 mil. I thought that that was a really crazy trade because at the time people just thought it was an exit candle, and then it probably ended up being like one of the biggest size winning trades of the cycle, and nobody ever really talks about it. I think Pow's
How much did
AI
they put in?
16Z.
How much did they put in?
I think it was 2 or 3 million. It was definitely like more than two.
Whoa.
And I know at the top it was like probably I think it was worth like between 30 and 40 or
Holy
something like that.
fuck. I
I never
remember
kept
that.
track of like how they closed that, or if they closed it, but that was an example like that. And then another one that was like kind of similar to that that had not as big of an impact, but like was still a good trade was the guy who did the $1 million market buy clip of GME, like 30 seconds after the Roy and Kitty first post in 3 years. I thought that that was a pretty crazy trade. That guy was definitely an insider, by the way, but
Hmm.
just like the way it played out was cool. And then yeah, I think I said Powell's AI16Z trade. I think that that one was really really crazy, mainly just because it was a lot of size for the market cap, and he sat in a lot of chop and drawdown before that.
Pow's a freak,
Pro-
dude.
yeah, yeah. Pow and Profit in particular
Pow is
is
nuts.
also just like yeah, yeah. I mean, both of them are like incredible at being patient and also just really knowing like when to get their money in good.
Hey, you were about to tell one
Uh,
more, and I cut you off, and really wanted to hear it. I think it was
okay, let
Profit.
me.
You said Pow, AI16Z.
Yeah, I think like Profit's Boop trade, for example. Like I thought that that was super
What's
crazy.
the
I mean,
Boop
Boop
trade? I
ended
don't
up
even
being
really
a
know about this
tremendous.
trade.
So Boop was
Yep.
Dingling's launchpad that was like a terrific failure. I'm
Yep.
sure that you had on paper a
I
very big airdrop
I
for it.
invested actually, so I'm a believer in Boop, the leading launch pad of Solana. Shout out to Dickling, but go ahead, Coyote.
It has like $5,000 in volume today, probably. But yeah, and so like I think that that was like kind of a launch pad that had been rumored about and discussed, and he was in the seed as well, and so I think that like it's even harder to like when you're like in a seed or a pre-sale or something like that, and like something's like trading like 5 or 10x your like theoretical entry on like some of the money you already had. Like it's very difficult to add to winners in that aspect, right? And I just remember like this guy just like absolutely slamming into red candles at 50 mil, and like within 3 hours is trading at 150 mil, and like I just love how Profit's the type of guy who just like will log in and like make like $1.5 million in 3 hours, and then just like not click a button for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, what's
He's
the deal with him?
really good.
I think he's gonna come on stream tomorrow.
Yeah, you should definitely get him
I've
on.
never heard him talk.
I've never heard. I've actually tuned into his stream one time. He used to stream when he was trading on Photon a good bit, but I think it's kind of stopped. But I also think he's been life maxing a little bit. Like for a little bit, he was making like 1 to 2,000 trades a day. It felt like, and now it's more like 1 to 3 a week kind of thing. But yeah, I feel it's funny you like say I'm a glazer or whatever, but like I have a ton of respect for a bunch of people, and a lot of that is because like the way that I feel like I got good was just like by being a nosy motherfucker and like being in people's DMs and just like chatting, constantly bouncing off ideas, like that kind of thing. Like when people talk about info flow, I think Magus was the
Mhm.
one
Yep.
who was saying that like he uses Confluence a lot and like it's really helpful to be around lots of smart people. And that like there's so many times where like I would have missed trade completely if somebody hadn't talked to me about it. And there's also plenty of times where like I would have been subject to huge drawdown if I hadn't been like chatting with people and that kind of thing. And then
Mm.
additionally, like there are elements of my style that I've picked up just from like being friends with other people and like seeing them use that strategy to success and then emulating it in kind of my own way. So I think info flow, when people talk about that, it's not like insider information. I think that like being around people who also crush and are also like really good at what they do is totally like an iron sharpens iron thing and is especially important on chain.
Who do you I've been asking a lot of people this, just it's like a fun question. I want to ask like enough people and then figure out where everyone sits. Who do you think are the five Okay, who do you think are the top 5 sole on-chain traders ever?
Oh my god, bro.
I know,
It's
in
so
order,
hard.
in order, in order. Sorry.
Uh, can I do no order? I think that'd be better.
Okay, fine. Top 5 sole traders ever, no order.
Oh man. All right, I'd put Pow and Profit in there for sure. Um, God, dude, Thread, this is
I
like
know it's so ass, right?
asking me like what my favorite meal is or something.
Pow,
It's like
profit.
uh I think Nassim, you like you can't I don't know how you count him out just because I think that he's probably the most profitable by just raw P&L, I would say. Very good at what he does. Um I would I would say Punter is like one of like my biggest mentors, like probably like 75% of everything I know came from that
I
guy.
like punter a
And
lot.
I think that he probably nailed the AI trade better than anybody on chain. So I think that I have to throw him in there. And then I would say like kind of like the newcomer to watch out for is Solo. I would put him in there at 5. I think that he's hilarious on Twitter and like is like just a huge shit poster, but I think he's really good at spotting good coins and his dust bag strategy is just like absolutely insane. A lot of people are always like, Solo was insider for this. Like Aura is a good example of like Solo just bought that at like 700K, got zeroed, and just never sold it. You know, and I think he's really good at picking stuff to never sell, and it's been paying off for him a lot. So I don't know. I think that like those are like kind of like 5 like my like big favorites. Or it's very difficult for me to like put a top 5 because there's so many people that I just super uber duper respect. And I think that kind of alluding to what I said earlier, it's very difficult to pick who's the best or unless you're like doing by just pure raw P&L because everybody has a different style and there are people who are super elite at just like one thing and that's enough for them,
Yeah, I
you know?
noticed how nobody from the Probably Nothing chat was featured here, so good job, Coyote.
Oh my
No,
God.
it's like no, it's like I fucking am
I
so
hate you.
I'm so happy you said Solo.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
Bro, Solo is
he's the man.
so funny, bro. I don't know why. I think
Yeah,
he's so fucking funny, bro.
yeah. One day, Thread, hit me up. I'm gonna have you join the Sevens Army Discord. I think you'd
No
love it.
way. Dude, you know what's
Yeah.
funny is I like realize okay, a couple things here. Number one, I think it's wild like I first got into the trenches properly in like 2024. I sort of followed like Frank and Malcolm and all these guys in. I was really focused on streaming. AI stuff got me in. Like I really wasn't a trader like at all. I mean, I was trading, but I wasn't like trading multiple hours a day. 2024 was wild. You had to be. And then 2025, again, I feel like Frank and that crowd got really, really good, went deep, and I sort of just like got to, you know, piggyback along and then realize like, whoa, there's like really levels to the on-chain stuff in particular. Like there's the levels have levels have levels. And I think what I realized is that one, the majority of CT especially the CT that I came from, which was like NFT Twitter, has absolutely no concept for like that this even exists. And then you realize that the people that understand that it exists and play the game have no concept for how deep it goes. And every time I bring someone like yourself or somebody comparable to you on the stream and I ask them this question, I asked it to River, like people that are like in this sort of in the game, they say people there's like names that come up and I'm like, damn, I don't even like know who that is. And they're like, what? Like, what? You don't know Durant? And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Like, I guess I do, but I don't even like really know who that is. And you realize that like many of the real movers and shakers of the on-chain stuff, like most of like you would assume that if 50% of people that play on chain know who they are, like 99% of CT has zero concept that they even exist. And it's pretty wild to just like go from someone like a cold-blooded chiller who like is trading the high cap stuff to then like bring you on and you have like a whole different concept. Like it's a different game that you play. Whole different concept for who are the key players. Like it's I think I had a question or a point to make and I completely lost it, but it's interesting to just hear your top 5 and then how it like differs from what somebody else would say, you know?
Yeah, and I've said this before too, in that I think that a lot of the people who are kind of in this like top 5%, top 1%, who are making most of the money are people that you will never ever see on Twitter, don't have thousands of followers, that kind of thing. And I think that a lot of people also underestimate how many crushers there are that are complete solo grinders that are not um, in chats and present on CT and that kind of thing. And I think that that is a testament to like the sleuthing stuff I was saying earlier, and that like there is a way like without all of the extra noise, you know? But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that CT can often be a really bad indicator of both market conditions and what's actually happening on chain. And I think that there's also often alpha on Twitter as well. I think being able to differentiate though is kind of the big edge.
That's why I like I've always liked I like doing the stream and I've always enjoyed Twitter so much. BBFP, this guy's fucking nuts, bro. 50 gifted. Also, notice you didn't say BBFP in your top 5. Um, Supply. I'm just saying.
I already name dropped Suppress earlier. He doesn't need any more glaze.
Yeah, I was just saying. Bro got suppressed. Another 50. This guy's wilding. BBFP. Shout out to you. I've never I've never thought that I am like the top 1% of traders. But I do think I'm in the top 1% of identifying who's in the top 1% and then bringing them on, which is pretty lit. That's why I enjoy like bringing people like yourself on the stream. Here's a question someone in the chat said. Also, BBFP another 50. You're nuts. What is Coyote's mindset before taking a trade?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, have fun with that one.
Phew. I think that is like that might be honestly a leak for me in some ways, and that I think that part of like one of the drawdowns of sort of the hard and fast style that I talked about is that oftentimes I probably don't do enough thinking before taking a trade. I think that the first things I think about are who owns this token, am I late or early, and what is the comp, and what is the current market appetite for that comp, if you will. I think that those are like kind of like the four questions that go through my mind, and then there's kind of like arbitrary weights based on like what the token is for like how important each of those metrics are, and then that decides buy or not. Oftentimes, I will say that for me, I have the luxury of buying things and then looking into them and then deciding if I want to buy more.
Yep.
Right. And so, I mean, some of my wallets are public, some are not, but you'll see that a lot in the books, and that like I'll buy stuff and then like it'll chop around for like 5 or 7 minutes or go up or go down, and then I'll fire in 3 more clips because I DD'd a little bit more and liked what I saw. But unfortunately, like that's one of the luxuries of doing this for a while and having lots of bullets, right? Is like I get rugged every single day, and that's part of the lose 7, win 3 type style. And unfortunately, if you're somebody who's just starting out, it's difficult to brick a bunch without going broke. So it's hard, man. I think that trading on chain is like one of the hardest markets ever for somebody with like 5 to 50K to their name, and like it becomes drastically more easy like the higher and higher you get.
Okay, I'll ask one more for you for the chat. Someone said, how do you get they asked it weird. How do you start the networking part? I feel like I'm a really good trader, but sometimes I don't have a good circle to get more confluence.
Bro, be nosy. Like seriously, join telegrams, DM people. Just like if somebody says they're from fucking Texas and like you went to Texas once, DM them, talk about it. Like find divine solidarity with other humans that are trading the same fucking assets and talk to them.
You actually do
I
this
know
with
that
me, by
like
the way. Not to cut you off.
dude, literally, bro, it's I feel like the way I first started talking to you and Frank is like I was literally just cold DMing you over and over again.
And then there was like I
Um,
sent a song, or it was a Kenny Mason song, I think, in or some maybe it wasn't Kenny
no, it's
Mason.
Ken Carson, bro. It's
It,
when the
it
Ken
was yeah, it was
Carson.
Ken Carson in the chat, and then you
Yeah.
messaged me, then we talked.
And then we found out we had like some like weird mutual connections too, like after a while, and that I feel like
Yeah, oh
that
yeah,
helped
we
as well. But
did,
I
which
guess
was wild. Yeah, that was sick.
yeah, I'm not gonna say them on stream, but like the
Yeah,
why.
yeah, yeah, it was sick lore.
So yeah, and I think that like what sucks is like I'm making it sound way easier than it actually is, but because it's not, and like that's the other thing is like there's like a very like fraternal vibe to shitters, right? And that like there's all these like different chats and FNFs that are prestigious that only allow certain people in. It's hard to break through. Like I get it, right? But like there are people every single day who are like becoming elite that aren't in any of these chats, right? And so like all this stuff is circular and that there's new players that come along like every like 4 to 6 months who like start really crushing and then they kind of become like the new elite. Half the people you hear about talk on Twitter about on chain, like all these like Axiom fanatics and like kind of like the Fortnite kids, like nobody knew who any of those people were 6 months ago or 8 months ago, right? Like their rise has been meteoric, but that's what's super cool about this space is that happens over and over again. So if you are good and you bring value, you will meet other people who are good and bring value, and you'll eventually find your circle and your place. It just takes initiative and it takes time.
Different perspective.
It
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, no,
You're fine,
finish,
you're
finish,
fine.
finish, finish.
No, the last thing I was just gonna say is like it's so you were talking about this earlier, right? Like on-chain traders just like want shit to go up like 800% in 3 minutes, or else they're frustrated, right? And like I think that people's biggest downfall in this entire market is impatience, and like that goes for like every facet of it. Not only just like is my net worth going up 800% a week, but also like is my network going up 800% a week, and that like you shouldn't expect to be in Pioneer or whatever like grand FNF in 3 days. Like it all is a journey, and you should embrace that portion of it if you want to actually like realize the fruits of it.
A different perspective on this is I asked David Hoffman from Bankless, how do you get all these sick guests? Like, how did you get, all these awesome Cuban and Altman and all these sick people? And his takeaway was ask harder. Just ask harder. Like, just ask harder. Be aggressive. Be more aggressive. Make a ask. Make a better ask. Make the ask again. Like the worst thing people could say, it's cliche, but like the worst thing they could say is no. I think it's like pretty based. Okay, this is one of the last things I want to ask you. Hoffman is hung like a motherfucking horse, dude. Why would you type that into the chat? That's foul. That's crazy. You mentioned Grand and Pioneer and all this. What is the best okay. In their prime, who is the best soul FNF ever?
Dude, I think that it's also hard to say that because they're also all really good at different things. So I'm in a lot of these. I've been in a lot of them. I would say that like the two that I frequent the most in terms of like big FNS like people know about are Phantom Troop, which is Rowdy's group. I know you know Rowdy, and Big Blue, which is IT4I's group. And like I think they're both excellent FNFs, for example, but they're both good at like completely different things. In that Phantom Troop has like a lot of guys that are super good at knowing when to size into things and kind of come in and take the one trade every single month, crush it, and go about their lives, right? Versus like Big Blue or like the sleuthing warriors that are like gonna find the 3 coins every day that are gonna go from 60K to 3 mil kind of thing. And then like you have like I mentioned Pioneer. Like I was never in Pioneer. I don't really know a ton of people who are in there, but like I know that like they had tons of KOL motion in there, like during the AI craze and that kind of thing. And so that is a component of it as well. It's like as ugly as it is to say, like we all need bag workers for our tokens. You know, like that's just kind of how it goes. And so yeah, so I think that like it's really difficult to say. Like I think that there's like lots of FNFs that are all like really good at kind of like what they do. But I think that the important part is just finding the circle or the one that um, trades most in line with your style that like you can add the most value to and also extract. Like it's all a value exchange, and that like you provide value, you extract value. But the hope is that you provide enough value to be net neutral to these people, so they give you theirs as well.
That's that's a
And
good take.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Flipping Profits in the chat. Profits, come on tomorrow. We were just talking about you. Answer my book tomorrow. All right. This is one of why do they call him LeBron? What is the LeBron lore?
He's LeBron.sol on chain.
Oh, that's what it is. He don't trade like LeBron though.
Uh, some would say he would.
Huh?
Ask him how many he's got.
He said, "Hey, it's not that soul." It's LeBron. LeBron public tag. Got it. Okay, here's one of the last things I want to ask you. It's supposed to be 30 minutes, but I'm so happy it was way longer than 30 minutes.
Love it.
What? Okay, this is like. Okay, no, no. I'm not gonna preface by saying it's gay. I'm just gonna ask it. What would be your biggest advice to a new trencher that has not made it on how to make it?
I think patience is the number one thing, which I already said. And then I would say that you should be getting as many trades as you possibly can get in on like no size. And I think that a lot of times people try and like form convictions and that kind of thing like way too early on and like sort of like really try and push the button. And I think that intuition and seeing thousands and thousands and thousands of tokens is like one of the biggest edges, which is why I don't recommend anybody who's like not already in this shit to do it, right? Because I think that the only way to be successful is to be a schizophrenic about it, and that like you have to have all of the prior market context to be able to make actionable decisions in this market, which requires you to be locked into it 20 hours a day or whatever it may take to have ample context, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's better to just like be in the arena constantly and build slow than it is to try and fire a bunch of big bullets and swing for the fences on that first try. And that the best way to get better is to do it over and over and over again, which once again sounds like an oversimplification, but I promise you that like that is maybe 60% of the battle.
That's sick. You think I can make it by copy trading Cupsy?
No. I won't speak on that, but that the copy traders definitely are helping Cup out, but no hate to him. Game is game.
Coyote, you're the GOAT, dude. We should. I had like talked to you before.
I don't feel like the GOAT right now, but I came on stream hoping this would be my bottom. So,
dude, you should. Why? What's like how much are you leaking right now?
I mean, not that much back. I mean, I probably like gave back like 60 to 70% of like what I made in that like 3-month period. Like just in that 3-month period that we talked about at the beginning. So, but like but like the thing is, Thread, is like that's happened over and over and over again to me. And that like that's just my style, and that I'm a win big, lose big guy. And you know, you make a bunch, give back 70% of it, then you make a bunch again, and then over and over again, like the numbers add up. So it's no big deal.
This is the bot. This is absolutely the bottom, man.
Yeah, I mean, bro, go look at my. I made a meme the other day. I honestly thought it was like my best tweet ever, and it probably only got like 60 likes. And it was just like this cycle tweet where it's like the top of the cycle is I think I'm the best on earth, and then I torch a starter home in South Florida, and then I think, damn, maybe I'm just a luck box and I'm not good at this, and then I make it all back. Is kind of the perpetual cycle for Coyote's trading journey.
You when you make it back in the next couple weeks, you should come back on. I actually really enjoyed this. It's like you're a sick person to bring on to talk on.